Welcome to the second part of a special week in mixed martial arts. Man, it's been crazy. We did part one a couple nights ago. Myself and Alan at Westland Eagle AH talking about a little bit of tonight's card, a little bit of Friday's card. I wanted to save the UFC 200 breakdown for its own podcast, and sure enough, I'm glad I did it because this breaking news comes across last night that Jon Jones, the headliner, the guy on the main event of the biggest card in the history of the sport, drops out. Doping violation. And this is obviously, if you follow the sport, this is one in a line. I guess we'll get to it in a second. Before we start getting into it, I am joined by your boy, P Money at Westland, or he's not at Westland Eagle AH, that's Alan. He is at Sweet Pappy Jones. It's P Money. What's up, man? The fucking craziness here in the mixed martial arts world.
Jake, it really is. It's been a nutty start to fight week. My goodness. The nuttiness starting last night with the announcement of Jon Jones being pulled from the UFC 200 headliner. We are into UFC Fight Night 90 as we speak. Been a great start to that card. Lots of action, lots of nuttiness to get to, my friend.
Yeah, a bunch of subs I hear starting it off. I haven't even been around all day. I'm about to turn it on. But we got to start with the Jon Jones shit. And this is something that I feel like we could spend either an hour talking about or just 5 minutes talking about. The 5 minutes just because, what is there to say, It's the only thing we don't know is if Jon Jones knew he was doping. He, I guess, is going to claim that he took a supplement and didn't know there was a banned substance in it, which, of course, is a possibility. But with Jones's track record of coke, multiple DUIs, hurting people, getting stripped of the title, I guess that's really the obvious question to ask. Do you believe Jones's story that he had no idea he was taking an illegal substance?
Jake, you know me. I don't believe this story, and I never believe this story. It doesn't matter who it's coming from. If it's coming from Jon Jones, if it's coming from Mother Teresa, the band, I didn't know my supplements was tainted excuse is one as old as time. There's never been an excuse for such ignorance, nor will there ever be. And this is just another case. I mean, you don't sit at the press conference crying like a baby if you did not know you got caught. If something like this happened and there was a tainted supplement that I was taking that caused me to be pulled from the biggest UFC card of all time, and it was against my will. These are quote-unquote tainted supplements that I didn't know that there was a banned substance in it. I would be infuriated, not bawling like a little girl. I would be quite indignant, and I just think, as you mentioned, Jake, with Jon Jones's history of running afoul of the law, this really shouldn't be any shocker. He never looked like he had a body type that would necessarily abuse performance-enhancing drugs. Always had more of the skinny, long, and lanky frame for the UFC's 205-pound weight division. Never really had him pegged as a PED user, but you never know. And really, we don't know what it is at this point because it seems like there's rumblings that maybe it's not PEDs, maybe it's just out of competition, or maybe the cocaine again. Who knows what it is? He did mention his struggle with sobriety at this press conference. So whatever it is, though, it was a big enough misstep to get him pulled from this UFC 200 headliner. And man, even myself, someone who is not known as a Jon Jones fan, I was looking forward to seeing him get back in the octagon. But man, we're gonna have to wait and see how this plays out before that happens.
And how bad do you have to feel for Daniel Cormier, just a couple nights away from the biggest payday of his entire career, his entire life? And that's up in the air. That's another question. Before we get to what's next for DC, another thing I want to ask about Jones, this is really his first, and if it is a doping violation. This is his first, foray into popping for PEDs. He's had alcohol abuse issues, cocaine abuse issues, hit and runs, but never a PED violation. So everyone's saying a 2-year ban. If you're Dana White, do you just give him a 2-year ban and let him come back? Or, you think about it. This is, he ruined UFC 151, the first event ever that was canceled. He was supposed to fight Rumble Johnson on the eve of, what was that, I guess? UFC 182. He was supposed to fight Rumble Johnson, and that was when all the craziness with the drunk driving, hit and run happened, stripped of the title. Now, he's messed up yet again. If you're Dana White, do you kick him out for a couple of years and let the USADA ban run its course, or are you thinking something a little bit more drastic? Because this is not the first time we've had issues with Mr. Jones.
Mr. Walters, you are crushing it today. Now, that is a fantastic point. First, the cancellation of UFC 151, being pulled from the Rumble Johnson fight, being stripped of the title. There are so many strikes against him personally, professionally, legally. He was already stripped of the title. He was out for, what was it? I want to say maybe less than a year. It wasn't even a full year, maybe just a hair over a year, but apparently that was insufficient. They gave him the interim title shot. He was able to fight in a title match, and just apparently, nothing seems to be working for Jon Jones at this point. I think you make a great point about just letting the USADA penalty run its course, but who knows? Like you mentioned, this is the first PED violation for him, so that would probably be. And who knows? This is Jon Jones we're talking about here, and we don't even know what the violation is really. Again, at this time,
we don't know. A lot of speculation.
Yeah, it could be PED. It could be substance of abuse. Apparently, they're still waiting on the B sample to be tested as well. So really, we don't know how this thing is going overall. But you would have to imagine there's got to be some sort of penalty by the UFC at least for just messing with that money, man. This is, the biggest card of all time, and Jon Jones certainly did not do it any favors. And as you discussed with his background, he really hasn't been doing the UFC a whole lot of favors as of late, just as a fighter and a champion.
And we are dealing with a lot of speculation, even though I've heard it was more along the doping lines. We are not sure what exactly he's tested for. Dave Meltzer tweeted about 6 hours ago, that Dana White said he tested positive for 2 things, which if you look at the USDA or the USADA guidelines, testing positive for 2 things might make him banned for 4 years. It's sad, man, and I'm not saying it's sad in the vein of I feel bad for Jones. It's sad to see that potential get wasted. We're looking at Jon Jones. We're looking at the biggest talent the sport has ever seen, period. More than GSP, more than Anderson Silva. He's the best. He's not lost to anyone. His one loss, he just beat the guy up too bad with 12-6 elbows. His strength of opponents has been ridiculous. He's taken everyone out, or just about everyone out in devastating fashion. And, man, it's something we haven't just never seen in mixed martial arts. We've never seen it in sports. Just such a transcendent talent, have such, this is akin to Jordan getting pulled right before the NBA Finals. This is akin to, think of the best of your sport and getting pulled just hours, just 72 hours from one of the biggest moments, and that doesn't really do it justice because the NBA Finals, that goes down every year. This is, UFC 200 isn't just the biggest card of the year. This is the biggest card ever. It's a crazy story, man, and we will see it develop in the next few weeks. We'll see what happens with the story that is Jon Jones. Moving over to his opponent, which you got to give it up to DC for not he just lost the biggest payday of his life, and he was classy about it. He wasn't cussing, pissed, doing this and that. He walked up like a gentleman. Dana White says he's going to fight again. There's rumors swirling about Daniel Cormier versus Anderson Silva. Who knows if that would be for a championship? Would you want to see Cormier versus Silva? I say just give him his show money, give him his cut that he was originally going to get of the pay-per-view, and let him walk with that. Silva, I don't want to see him. I don't know. I wouldn't mind it, but I think DC would absolutely outclass Silva. Just look at what Spot Anderson is in his career. Even though he is the Spider, he is liable for a knockout at any time. Are you interested in seeing an Anderson Silva versus Daniel Cormier match?
Yeah, I am here. Sorry, technical difficulties. No, I am. I'm very interested in seeing Daniel Cormier versus Anderson Silva. That would be a great fight because Daniel Cormier also, there's been a lot of talks of pound-for-pound rankings as of late with Jon Jones, Mighty Mouse. Daniel Cormier is at least nowadays, pretty low-key one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the planet. And if he could beat Anderson Silva, I think that would just be a great case for him to help make the point that he is one of the best fighters pound for pound. We saw what he was able to do at heavyweight. We've seen what he's been able to do at lightweight. He's certainly just one of the best fighters that there is. If he can take out Anderson Silva, who is one of the best at 185 pounds, he's really going to be compiling quite a legacy for himself. And conversely, if Spider Silva were able to beat Daniel Cormier, I mean, hey, here's Spider Silva, who himself was almost easily regarded as the pound-for-pound best, like almost just no debate. And he has seen his stock decline as of late. A little bit of the luster come off of that pound-for-pound talk shine. And if he could get a win over Daniel Cormier, one of the best fighters we've ever seen in light heavyweight and heavyweight, if I can say so myself, I think that would do a lot to help restore his legacy. So I think that would be a fantastic fight, really, if they were able to pull that one together last minute. Then we've got the Mike Pyle and Alberto Mina going after it.
Ooh, first you with the mute button, and then me. I am back. I'm sorry. And we could talk about this for the entire show. There's so many sides to it. From I'm looking at the rap sheet now. He is cited for hitting someone in his car in 2009. Cited for drifting while pulling into a strip club in 2011. Drives into a pole May 2012. Declines the fight against Chael Sonnen after the UFC 151 cancellation in 2012. Fails the drug test prior to UFC 182 with Daniel Cormier in January 2015. The cocaine test. Hit and run with drugs in the car April 2015. Cited for driving without his license January of this year. Ticketed for drag racing March of this year, and maybe the one that will be most damning to his career, just yesterday, pulled from UFC 200 due to a potential USADA drug test violation administered on June 16th, which brings up another question. If this test, look, I get due process and being thorough, and these things take a while. This test is from June 16th, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we're just now finding out that he failed it. Like, let's maybe expedite the process a bit. So if someone's got to get pulled, he's not getting pulled 72 hours before the fight. But like I said, everyone's talking about this. Gustafson's willing to step up. Michael Bisping's willing to step up. You have a lot of fighters looking to make that red panty money with Brock Lesnar on the card. And Brock and Mark Hunt will now be the main event. Cormier, still a big question mark. Dana said he was going to get him a fight, but time seems to be draining away now. I don't know if you put Cormier in the main event, if you put his belt on the line. What you do is all up in the air, and seemingly, we don't even know if Zuffa is going to own the UFC in a week's time. So there is just a ton of variables up in the air, and we could forecast all of them. Maybe wait until next week's podcast when we have a little bit more clarity and we're breaking down all these crazy cards. Speaking of crazy cards, let's get straight to it. I want to keep this show a little brief, just like last week's. We're doing a half, then half now. Let's do the Fight Pass prelims all in one bunch. And then those top 8 fights are... We'll include the Sage Northcutt versus Enrique Marin fight because I don't know if that's worth its own speaking point. We all know what's going to happen there. Sage, a huge minus 350 favorite against Enrique Marin, who seems to be slotted in just to take a beating from one of the UFC's new poster boys. So I'll lump Sage in there with them. You have Sage versus Marin. And the 3 fights that we have on Fight Pass, Jim Miller versus Takanori Gomi. This might be a loser gets cut fight. Jim Miller is 1-4 in his last 5. He beat Danny Castillo via split decision, but lost to Donald Cerrone, Beniel DeRoche, Michael Chiesa, and Diego Sanchez. Takanori Gomi, he's 1-3, also losing to Diego Sanchez, losing to Miles Jury, losing to Joe Lauzon, and losing to Ike Valley Flag. Even though we all know Gomi really won that fight against Sanchez. It should be a barn burner. Both of these guys love to fight. And speaking of barn burners, we got the barn burner of all barn burners. We got, a fight that, could main event a shitty, Fight Pass card. Joe Lauzon versus Diego Sanchez. Talk about exciting. God, I cannot wait for this fight. Sanchez coming off that win against Jim Miller, Lauzon a loss to Evan Dunham. That's going to be a fun one as well. And we have Gegard Mousasi, 3-1 in his last 4, taking on Thiago Santos, who is on a 4-fight win streak. As far as who I'm picking Jim Miller over Takanori Gomi. Even though he's lost 4 of his last 5, he's lost them to top opponents. I think Gomi's getting a little older. I'm picking Miller. I'm picking Mousasi, even though Santos has the better recent record, sort of the same rationale. Mousasi has fought a higher level of opponent and is just such a technical fighter. I'm obviously going to pick Sage. He's a big favorite, and Marin's being fed to the wolves. Sanchez, Lauzon, fuck. Who do I pick here? Sanchez seems to have a knack to win close decisions, whether he really won it or not. If it goes to a decision, I don't know. He seems to have a fighting style that the judges love. Joe Lauzon is a motherfucker of a fighter, only losing to Al Iaquinta and Evan Dunham going back a few years. I'm going to pick Lauzon here, but if it goes to a decision and I think Lauzon won the fight, I am not going to feel safe until I see his hand raised in the air. What do you think of these 4 fights before we break down? God, this card is so deep. These 7 fights following fight by fight, and they are all wars.
Yeah, this card is just insanity. And also, quick shout-out, UFC Fight Night 90. Just about to get the main card underway there. Been a sweet deal of action there so far. 8 fights, 6 finishes, not bad. Setting fight week off with a good tone there. But, yeah, the cherry on top of fight week, UFC 200, my goodness. Amazing. I mean, Jim Miller versus Takanori Gomi for the curtain jerker. Just an amazing fight. That one really is a tough one to call. As you mentioned, both guys certainly past their prime. I also am going with Jim Miller. It's such a tough one, but I just feel that Miller, with his grappling prowess, I think he'll be able to work Takanori Gomi. He'll be able to just stay elusive enough to work that wrestling advantage and get a sub going. Mousasi versus Santos, as you mentioned, Santos, he's just been putting a hurting on the middleweights in the UFC. But Gegard Mousasi, he's been doing that to 185-pounders, 205-pounders, all over the world in just about every organization you can name. Thiago Santos, he looks like a beast. Looks super ripped, super very skilled, good technique everywhere. You can say the same about old Gegard, though. Thiago definitely seems to have more of a definitive swing and momentum. It certainly seems like he's riding a great wave of momentum. But Mousasi, he's a world-class talent, and I have to take him over Santos, if for no other reason than big fight experience. Plus, I just think Gegard is so technical. He has what it takes to get it done. Diego Sanchez and Joe Lozon, that is such a tough fight to call. I think really, though, Diego is a good choice because even if he loses the fight, half the time the judges give it to him anyways. But if I recall correctly, at least to me, in his last fight, Diego Sanchez got a legitimate win over Jim Miller. He was awarded that decision, and to the best of my recollection, he actually did enough to deserve it and should have rightfully won that fight. That is I can't tell you the last time I watched a Diego Sanchez fight and thought, yeah, he deserved that decision, deserved to win. It'd probably been 6 years or more. I couldn't tell you the last time it happened. So just due to the fact he has a little more positive momentum on his side, Joe Lozon, he's seemingly always been a win one, lose one, been in that kind of pattern in his career. I think that pattern, well, I just think he's going to play and lose this one. I think Diego, he's just got too strong of a chin to get knocked out, and he's savvy enough on the ground not to get submitted. You combine that with Diego's pressuring style and the way he just always swings forward. Lozon, like most people, you have to stop Diego to get that finish. And I really don't think Joe will be able to do it. And as far as Sage Northcutt versus Enrique Marin goes, like you said, hardly worth noting that is a showcase fight for Sage Northcutt. I hope Enrique is being paid handsomely for that one.
With all of these barn burner fights, does Sage deserve a spot? Coming off a loss to Brian Barberena, put Sage on the Friday card, man. Sage does not belong here. I am sorry, but when I look at the Fox Sports 1 prelims and I see the other three fights are Kat Zingano, Juliana Pena, former champion Johnny Hendricks versus Kelvin Gastelum, former champion TJ Dillashaw versus the man who beat him, Rafael Asunciao, and then I see Sage Northcutt versus Enrique Marin. Which one does not belong?
Yeah, absolutely. That, and there's really a number of good fights that they could have taken from either UFC Fight Night 90 or the tough finale we have coming up tomorrow night. There's at least one marquee matchup that they could have swapped out. Put Sage on Fox Sports 1 or something like that. But yeah, certainly nowhere near deserving a UFC 200 title shot. Well, let me put it this way: if he would have beat Brian Barberena, I wouldn't have faulted UFC for putting him on the slot. But
I agree.
He did not beat Barberena. He lost, and man, I guess Sage is lucky that Barberena also went on to beat Warley Alves, because now it doesn't look so bad that Northcutt lost to him. But yeah, no, certainly. They could have shuffled the deck a little bit more and placed Sage elsewhere on the week's cards.
And moving to the rest of the card, I want to do it one by one. This fight, TJ Dillashaw versus Rafael Asunciao. Dillashaw looking for revenge here. He dropped the first fight back in 2013 via split decision to Mr. Asunciao. And you look at what either one has done since. Dillashaw came off that loss, beat Mike Easton, looked so much better against him, beat Renan Barão, looked even better, held the belt, defended it twice before losing to Dominic Cruz. Rafael Assunção has only fought twice since then. He hasn't fought in nearly 2 years. His last fight, October 2014. He was supposed to fight in 2015, although I believe he had an ankle surgery that sidelined him until the end of the year. But he's getting his rematch against the former champ, Dillashaw. I think it's going to be much different this time around. Even though Assunção, had a couple, the win against Brian Caraway, his last fight, is impressive, especially seeing Caraway doing things like beating the up-and-coming Aljamain Sterling. I just think this is going to be a completely different story, and I think the line reflects that. This is the most one-sided fight on UFC 200. TJ Dillashaw is minus 400. Vegas knows what they're doing. They set that line that's skewed for a reason. This is Dillashaw's fight to lose. I think he easily keeps it standing and puts on a kickboxing display. If he goes out with aggression and wants to finish, he'll finish it. I feel like Dillashaw is just kind of looking to get back in the win column here against the guy he lost to in the past. So I think he plays it safe, wins a very one-sided 30-27. I'm taking I'm taking the snake in the grass, the viper, Dillashaw, whatever you want to call him. I am taking the former champ.
The snake in the grass. I love it. And I think I would have to side with you and the Vegas odd makers in this one as well. That was a very close fight when it was first made, and I think nowadays just the progression that TJ has made, really his footwork is going to be the difference. His footwork is what elevated him and got him to where it is. When they first fought, TJ was not on the level that he is now, and he has progressed quite commendably. He is, I definitely see him as a good betting favorite, and with good reason. His wrestling and his grappling is strong enough to stay away from Assunção's strength in that department. And I think whereas when they first fought, he was developing his strikes, but again, nowhere near where it's at today. Right now, fully developed, and I do think he has a better striking style than Assunção. I think he'll be able to employ his style well, and yeah, I believe he will get a unanimous decision, if not maybe a late stoppage here against Assunção.
That brings us to a welterweight scrap I cannot believe is on the prelims, even though I guess I can because this card is so fucking stacked. Johnny Hendricks versus Kelvin Gastelum. These guys are both championship caliber fighters. You have Johnny, who his only losses, in the last 6 years have come to GSP, a fight we both think he won, to Robbie Lawler, another split decision fight we both think he won, and Stephen Thompson, a fight where we both said there was no way Thompson would win, and we ate shit as Thompson not only finished Johnny, but finished him in convincing fashion in the first round. I feel like that was a different... either that was a different Johnny, or Stephen Thompson really is the motherfucker people make him out to be, because he just looked like he was completely guessing, throwing at the win the entire fight. You have Kelvin Gastelum, too. His only losses are split decisions. That could have gone either way against Woodley, who's now fighting for a championship, and Neil Magny, who I feel like at any given time is on a 10-fight winning streak. Championship caliber welterweights, and when it gets to be this close, usually the way I pick them is I look at the trajectory of either guy, whose stock is rising, whose is falling, and I feel like overall Gastelum's only 24 years old. Can you believe that? He got guys like him, guys like Max Holloway have such bright futures. Johnny Hendricks, 32. He has 8 years on the welterweight from Yuma, Arizona, and I think I think this is going to be a spot where we see Kelvin's stock keep rising and Johnny's keep falling a bit. I know most people are picking Johnny here. The line is actually very close. Johnny a slight favorite at minus 120. Gastelum, even odds. I'm taking a decision either way, a split decision either way, and I think Gastelum finally wins a split decision and takes it from Johnny. And I think this is maybe a fight that leaves a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. Johnny seems to have a knack to do exactly the opposite of what Diego Sanchez does. He goes out there, does the right thing, just it doesn't impress the judges. So in this fight, I'm going to take Kelvin Gastelum, split decision win over the big rig Johnny Hendricks.
Well, just like in Johnny Hendricks' last matchup, I'm going to go ahead and announce that the big rig is going to break Kelvin Gastelum off something fierce. I think this is potentially going to be one of the biggest ass whoopings of UFC 200. And Johnny Hendricks is going to dominate Kelvin Gastelum every single place this fight goes. On the feet, he doesn't want to strike with Johnny. Johnny's got better hands. He's got more powerful hands. He's got the better wrestling. Where does Kelvin win in this fight? I do not know. They're both built very similarly. I think maybe Kelvin is a little bigger than Johnny Hendricks. If so, not by a ton. Gee whiz, this isn't like the Wonder Boy fight where, what does Kelvin have in his arsenal that Johnny Hendricks does not? He doesn't have the hook kicks. He doesn't have that very pronounced length. I'm just not seeing a ton of different ways that Kelvin wins this fight. Really, any at all. I'm taking Johnny Hendricks in this one. Slam, dunk, big rig, gets back on track in the fast lane on the way to that welterweight gold once more.
And moving briskly along the main event of the Fox Sports 1 prelims, Kat Zingano versus Juliana Pena. Both of these women have had a lot of things going on outside the cage. Obviously, Kat, who hasn't fought since losing to Ronda Rousey back a year and a half ago. That bum rush that turned into her getting armbarred with the quickness. Obviously, the family issues going on with Kat. Pena also hasn't fought since 2015, although her layoff isn't as long. She defeated Jessica Ai back at 192 last October. And then a couple months after that, she got arrested, and I don't think anything does this story justice except for just reading straight off the Wikipedia this craziness. Quote, an alleged victim and two witnesses told officers that Pena and Josh Gao, her training partner, attempted to enter Zola's bar after being involved in a street fight. Witnesses Gao's face was covered in blood, and the two wanted to use the bathroom to get Gao cleaned up. Bar employees told them the establishment was closed and they could not come in, which prompted Pena to become, quote, irate, according to one witness. Witnesses said that Pena kicked a bar employee in the groin and then, while outside the business, kicked the owner in the groin twice. Apparently, she's using the Bobby Hill defense. Give me back my purse. Just kicking nuts left and right. Gao didn't get physical with anyone, but was described as rubbing his bloody face on the bar's front window. Would have been fun to see it in person. As far as the fight itself goes, Vegas sees Kat as a favorite, and we've not seen Pena really tested up to a level of a Kat Zingano. Let's not forget, Kat Zingano has beaten both women involved in the championship fights on the main card of UFC 200. Miesha Tate and Amanda Nunes Nunez not only beat them, finished them. I think we see Kat back in the hunt for a title after this one. Pena takes a TKO loss. Who you got, P Money?
God damn that mute button. I am absolutely going for Kat Zingano in this one. Definitely hard to get behind Juliana Pena after such ratchet accounts coming out from the news. That just seems,
Very, very good use of the word ratchet.
Yeah, that's a ratchet-ass bitch, if I'm being honest. So be that as it may, I'd like to see a nice, respectable young lady such as Kat Zingano, who's overcome a lot of adversity. As we mentioned, already has victories over the two ladies competing for the Women's Bantamweight Championship on Saturday night. I just want to see her get back on track, get that momentum going, serve up Juliana Pena, slice of that humble pie, hopefully get a nice solid finish. I think it would be entertaining for the fans. I think it would do Juliana Pena some good to sit down for a little bit. And, I'm a big fan of Zingano, hoping she can get back to her winning ways. I'm definitely picking her here. I mean, this is another one where I see Zingano winning this fight everywhere it goes. She has the wrestling background. She's got a great striking acumen. She's got a chin that holds up. She's fought and beat better girls than Juliana Pena. I think she has this one in the bag for sure. Hello?
Sorry about that, yeah. And, that brings us to the main card, the first one being Cain Velasquez and Travis Browne. This is a fight I really think styles make fights. And Travis Browne, all of his wins are against guys he can bully around and KO. Cain's not that guy. I don't think Cain's going to let him bully him. Cain, famous for his cardio. I don't. Aside from that Junior Dos Santos flash KO, we've really never seen his chin fail. I don't know if Travis Browne's takedown defense is good enough to stop Cain from just taking him down, imposing his will. This is a quickie. I have Cain winning easy, first or second round, finishing it on the ground and pound.
That's a great point. I mean, Cain very well could make this a quick and easy one. He's got the great low center of gravity. He's got the endless cardio. And this is only a 3-round fight. I can't recall the last time we saw Cain going in a 3-round fight. Usually he's going for 5. So I can only imagine that. And since this fight, I'm sure is closer to sea level than DFA. I can only imagine we are going to get a
Vegas is still pretty high up. I think it's at 3,000 or 4,000 feet. I know it's nowhere close to sea level.
Oh, is that right? Well, I'll be dipped.
Yes, no Mexico City though. Mexico City's 2 miles up, and that's when he had those huge problems in that fight against Fabricio Verdum.
Yeah, we've seen Cain handle the Las Vegas conditions many times before with good success. So certainly shouldn't be any excuses in this fight. However, for some reason, I feel like Travis Browne has what it takes to get it done. Travis Browne, he trains with Jackson MMA. He is super long. My goodness, if he were to put one of those knees on Velasquez, that could be a big problem. Not to mention, he has some great takedown defense. We've seen him a couple times knock people out while they're trying to take him down due to his vicious elbow attack that he has. So he's definitely got some tools there against Cain Velasquez. However, Cain, that cardio, this only being a 15-minute fight. Ooh, but this is a really tough one to call. I've just not been super impressed with Cain as of late. And you know what? Screw it. I'm going with a big upset here. I'm calling Travis Browne over Cain Velasquez.
Taking Hapa over Cain. That for sure would be a giant upset. Only 3 fights to go. This next fight, I haven't heard people talking about enough. It might be, now that Jones DC is off the card, it might be my favorite fight on the entire card. Jose Aldo, Frankie Edgar, man. Both of these guys, Frankie Edgar has put together not just a 5-fight win streak, but one of the more impressive 5-fight win streaks we've seen in the sport, both looking at the strength of opponent and just the dominance, knocking out Chad Mendez in the first round, TKOing BJ Penn, getting that neck crank against Cub Swanson, one-sided fights against Uriah Faber and Charles Oliveira, and Jose Aldo, a pound-for-pound king. How hungry is he going to be coming back after being undefeated for a decade and then losing in 13 seconds to Conor McGregor. This is his first appearance in the cage since then. Fight of the year. I mean, this has all the fixings, and as much as deep in my gut I want to take Frankie Edgar, Aldo was a pound-for-pound king. Aldo was the man, and he is going to be hungry for a win. I think it goes to a decision either way. I think it's 48-47, potentially a split. This is a fight I wish we could see on every card. The first time they fought one another back in 2013, it was the fight of the year. So all that said, man, my gut says Frank, but I'm going to take Jose Aldo here.
Well, you know what? My gut is also saying Frankie in this one. That first fight was razor thin. Frankie Edgar, still one of the best. He's still one of the best fighters in the UFC in any weight class. He is still one of the pound-for-pound best. I feel like you watch him, and it seems like he's only getting better throughout the course of his entire career with the UFC. He has to have been with the UFC for 8, maybe closer to 10 years now, and he just keeps getting better. His first-round knockout over Chad Mendes, my goodness, that was devastating. Of course, if you ask Conor McGregor, that was thanks to him. He kind of loosened the proverbial jar on Chad Mendes, if you will. He kind of got some muscle in on it first, softened him up for Frankie. But who knows? Old Connie Mack might have done the same thing for Frankie against Jose Aldo. And if Frankie's able to bring some more of that power, my goodness, I mean, he's looking quicker than ever. He's looking like his striking game is better than ever. The grappling, it's just, he is still performing like one of the pound-for-pound best in the world. And, I mean, really, I guess we've only seen one off 15 seconds from Jose Aldo to judge by. So, I mean, maybe it is a little premature to start saying, oh, Jose Aldo's stock is dropping and Edgar's is on the rise. But technically, I mean, hey, that is the way it's going. Things, the playing field is a little even right now, and my goodness, this is just going to be an insane fight. Hard to pick either way, but I'm going to roll with Frankie. He's got the answer.
I'm glad one of us picked him. God, it's going to be a close fight. Moving to your new co-main event, Amanda Nunes and Miesha Tate. Man, I hate to say it. I thought Nunes was a questionable pick to put in here. I thought a lot more fights made sense. I thought a Holly Holm rematch made more sense. Obviously, a Ronda Rousey fight would have made a lot of sense for a card of this magnitude, but apparently she's still on the shelf. Nunes beats Valentina Shevchenko and gets rewarded with a co-main event spot on the biggest card of all time. I don't know about that, but, there are a lot of things have happened between now and then, including the whole Jon Jones situation we just broke down for 20 minutes. All that said, I think she is going to be a decent challenger, but not decent enough. Tate has shown that, her stand-up is passable, but that wrestling is championship quality. I have Tate easily winning this fight. Vegas seems to agree. I think Tate's minus 250 right now, so 2.5 to 1 favorite here. And I'm going to take Cupcake Tate to hold her belt, and who knows, Ronda Rousey might be next in line to fight her for the third time.
Well, man, the Ronda very well could be primed to take on Miesha Tate if Miesha Tate defends, but Amanda Nunes is a solid 135-pound contestant and worthy of a shot at the belt. She has some excellent power for the 135-pound women's bantamweight division. She does have some good grappling as well. I think she's a little more well-rounded than Miesha Tate, just in the sense her striking is a little more polished, and she has a solid ground game herself. But that having been said, I think Misha's ground game is so much more superior to Amanda Nunes compared to the marginal advantage that Amanda Nunes enjoys in the striking. Although the increased power certainly helps as well. I do believe she has the technique as well as power in the striking department, but I just think as far as grappling goes, Miesha Tate does hold a significant advantage, and for myself, as far as picking mixed martial arts fights, that is one of the biggest factors you have to look at. Who holds a grappling advantage? And in this case, it is a sizable one, at least in my estimation. As badly as I want Nunes to finish this fight, which is very, very badly, I don't think she'll do it. Miesha is fairly resilient. She's shown a pretty good chin. She can take some shots. Man, and I think she'll be able to avoid the power from Nunes, and she'll be able to work her game. And I've got Miesha Tate with a late 4th round submission in this one.
Final topic: Brock Lesnar, Mark Hunt. Man, we spoke about this fight in depth when they announced it. Sort of talked about which way we're leaning. And, I think my pick's going to stay the same. As much as I'm going to be rooting for Brock Lesnar, just because of the spectacle he is, the size, his kneecaps look like tortoise shells. His head looks like a bowling, but it's just, Brock Lesnar is an absolute spectacle. He's an absolute gorilla. And he brings a lot of eyes to the sport, and I think a win would probably mean he fights in the UFC again, which I really want to see. A loss probably marks the end of his mixed martial arts career. He's just fighting the wrong dude, man, because the knock against Brock is that he does not like to get hit. And Mark Hunt hits harder than anyone in the history of the UFC has ever hit. I look at that, and I find it very difficult to pick against Mark Hunt. Like I said, I'll be rooting for the Vanilla Gorilla Brock Lesnar, but if you're making me put money down on it, I think Hunt touches him and finishes the fight in the 1st round.
Well, that's certainly, the Vegas odds makers seem to be on your side there, Jake. Mark Hunt, I believe, has been the favorite ever since the line was announced on this fight. And certainly, you want to speak about momentum. Mark Hunt, he's been in the UFC. He never left. He's still been there, taking these fights and still beating guys up and doing very well for himself, even, I want to say, even into his early 40s now. But, man, we're talking about a motivated Brock Lesnar, as dangerous a beast as the Sea-Level King. And, really, this is something I know. I just mentioned it. The person who has the definitive grappling advantage, that's something I weigh very, very heavily in picking MMA. And Brock Lesnar, to say he would have the definitive grappling advantage would be one of the biggest understatements that there is. Sure, Mark Hunt has made strides in his grappling game.
Brock has jits, man, yeah.
Brock has jits, not just,
not to mention the wrestling, yeah.
Yeah, not just the wrestling. He has legitimate Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grappling techniques. And if he wants to take Mark Hunt to Suplex City, man, he's got a huge height and reach advantage over Mark Hunt. And he certainly would seem to have the athleticism. All he has to do is avoid a couple strikes. Man, he could go WWE on that ass straight, hit an F5 in the middle of the fucking octagon. Brock Lesnar is a beast.
Imagine if
man.
he hit a German suplex, that the roof would come off the T-Mobile Arena.
Oh no, he would go for like 5 in a row or something. It was, or unless the ref would step in and wave it
16.
off. But Mike, you'd have the crowd counting along as Mark Hunt's flying through the air on his way to Suplex City. But man, conversely, though, all you need is Mark Hunt to touch you once, and that's the man, bear, horse. It really doesn't matter. Mark Hunt will knock out anything he touches. Brock Lesnar is not an exception to that rule. So this one, man, I mean, the lines are fairly close on it. I hate picking heavyweight fights myself. Everybody, I say that every time. Heavyweight is my least favorite division to pick. However, that's what we do here on the MMA podcast, so I got to do it. I'm going to go with Brock Lesnar for some reason. I think he stays athletic. I think he stays elusive. I think he's going to wear out Mark Hunt and take him to Suplex City, man.
I like it. Ballsy pick, taking Brock Lesnar, who actually I haven't looked at the latest odds on him right now. Vegas has old Brock at plus 150, so not as much as an underdog as you might think. You got anything else for the people before we close it out?
Big Jake, I think that'll do it. It's been lovely as always. Crazy fight week, and we're just getting started, man. On our way to the second fight on the main card for Fight Night 90, and pleasure as always bringing it down with you, my man.
Looking forward to the fights. Looking forward to breaking them down next week on the MMA Podcast. Always free on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, all the rest. Pat, enjoy the fights, and we will see you next week.
You know it, brother.
Later, man.
You have a lovely one as well.
You too.
Peace.